Good evening and a welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel, to our coverage of the Competition Suspension Paved Sprint Series presented by Pivotal Propane. We're taking the Paved Sprint car, a car that's probably underutilized in the iRacing service, letting about 40 drivers loose with it around some short tracks this season. And we begin our season at Iowa Speedway, a very good 3/4 of a mile racetrack out there in the Iowa state. And we're live on the Global Sim Racing channel, of course, with the coverage coming to you from myself, Ryan Jones, and alongside of me, Gary Weaver. Behind the scenes, Joe Peak, using cameras brought to us by Dougie Beard. And to take a little bit of a closer look at the Iowa racetrack, why don't we dive down and have a look with our GSRC track guide.
Newton, Iowa, a smaller town situated in the middle of Jasper County, perhaps best known for being the former home of Maytag and Iowa Speedway, where we find ourselves today. Iowa Speedway is perhaps the best known oval out there not to have a NASCAR Cup Series date. Its 0.88 mile layout has offered a ton of exciting short track races over the years. The Xfinity Series, Gander Trucks, Indy Car, ARCA, and Wayland Modifieds all make trips here every summer. USAC, Grand Am Sports Cars, and several other series have come here over the years, and the track is used all year round for driving schools and other events on the oval and road course. Rusty Wallace helped design Iowa, and he patterned it off a track he saw a lot of success at over the years, Richmond, but it's a little larger and faster. The 12 to 14 degrees of progressive banking in these wide corners really can help get things going. Just watch out for the bumps, as the Midwestern winters have taken a toll on the surface. And a real quick did you know? This track was one of the first built without concrete exterior track walls. It was completely designed with the safer barrier in mind. Enjoy the show at Iowa Speedway.
A 7/8 mile racetrack is Iowa Speedway. These sprint cars we've got, Gary, they look like a bit of a handful to drive, and around this track could be quite tricky.
Yeah, here in Newton, Iowa, it is going to be the Iowa Speedway here, just almost under the lights. It's going to be a little bit of sunset here, but again with turns from 12 to 14 degrees of banking, and like you mentioned, 7/8 of a mile, so 0.88 miles here for Iowa Speedway at 1.41 kilometers. And like you mentioned, Ryan, these cars are definitely a very big handful to drive, so these drivers are going to be loose off of pretty much every single corner here, and they're going to have to be very, very careful with these 850 horse-powered sprint cars.
And in terms of how they're going to get through to the checkered flag today, here's our race format. We've got 2 heats and a feature race. The heats, they'll come off the back of a 5-minute qualifying session, where 12 will advance straight through to the A main. They are fixed setups for the drivers, so they don't have to do too much in the way of adjusting them. Each heat will be 15 laps in length, with 4 advancing to the A main. The A main itself will be 40 laps, a 20-car field. So a great format ahead of us. Going to see plenty of racing, plenty of action, and there's just over a minute and a half left in practice here. Some of the form guys in practice that might give us a bit of a form guide for later on. Jonathan Schaefer, currently fastest by about 1/10 of a second. Back to Garrett Andrews, Chase Randall, Chance Crum, and Barrett Volhamis, your 5 fastest drivers.
Jonathan Schaefer with a 21.871, if just for a little bit of a relative time. So we'll see how the times play out in qualifying as the night goes on for the time being. I'm taking a look at the weather personally over here, and it's not too bad. It's only about 78 degrees in air temperature, 82 on the track temperature, and usual wind temperature. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see close racing like that, as well as the track temperature start to fall a little bit as this night goes on.
Yeah, it's not too hot to start off, and as you mentioned, what is it? It's in sim time. It's 20 past 7, so it's going to get a lot cooler by the time we get to the end of the A main. So the track definitely come into these guys, which should be good. Expect it to remain. Having a look at some of the lines they're taking, there could be a couple lines around the racetrack. Iowa does sort of open itself up to that through the corners. You can take a couple different lines depending on the car you're in. looks like a couple lanes up the track might be viable. So we should sort of also, I can't speak English today, Gary, which should also promote side-by-side racing.
There you go. Don't worry, it happens. I have my moments too. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would know, but those side-by-side moments could end up in disaster at some points. We've seen a few cartwheels in a sense, so I am going to be making a personal checklist to see how many cartwheels, which person can do the most cartwheels in their sprint cars here for tonight.
Checkered flag flies on practice, and that will take us through to qualifying. 5 minutes, a maximum of 3 laps. The drivers get to put down their gauntlet and hope that they're in the top 12 and don't have to race their way through the heats to get through to the A main. Let's follow someone out there. Maybe one of our form guys from practice. Where is Jonathan Schaefer? Out on the racetrack. And going to be very interesting if we go on board with Jonathan. Oh, Schaefer's just spun, actually, funnily enough.
Oh. 10
Well,
style points. Well,
yeah,
if it isn't obvious enough that these have 850 horsepower, well, there's your answer. He was barely double-checking right now, actually, after that. To just get back around, he was at about 20 miles an hour. So if that doesn't say something about this horsepower, I don't know what does. About the weight of the car as well, but he managed to get his way around. He's about to start his lap ride.
Yeah, that's almost flipped it doing a flick spin. That's a bit of an issue, isn't it? Don't spin around. It's going to be the quarter of the day then. If you do spin, you could be in trouble going around. So his first lap, probably not going to be great because he was slow starting it. This is 22.397, so he's going to need a big improvement over the next 2 laps. Barrett Polhamus jumps up to the top with a 22.122, 2 tenths quicker than Schaefer, who runs it about a lane up the track through the middle of 3 and 4 there. Out to the outside wall, sliding his way up there. A 22 flat, his second attempt. That puts him to the top.
So far, so good. This is going to be his last attempt as well, as we see, just taking a look at any other drivers just running in their laps. A few have yet to finish their laps as well, but should be relatively everybody being complete at the start-finish line momentarily. As Schaefer finishes his lap time, he does not improve off that 22 flat, so 22.004 is the time to beat for any other drivers starting to do their lap times, as unfortunately Tyler Chalk spins around on the apron. That's also going to be something to look out for, is the apron. Clipping the apron is something that, of course, is more than likely obvious that you don't want to do in racing, but especially here where it's going to be a little bit more grippy for these cars. They're going to be very easy to spin around.
And the bubble for the transfer spots is 22.259, currently the 12th place time by Ryan Shilkuski. So he's just got himself into the A main at this point. But as I say that, he gets knocked out as Chance Crum goes all the way to the top of the leaderboard at 22.001.
So 3 1,000ths of a second faster actually is going to be Chance Crum. So he was pretty good in the Dirt Series last month, so it's weird to say, especially since, well, last month was only about almost a week ago, and he sets an even faster lap time the second time, so just in case the first lap wasn't enough, he sets it again. So Chance Crum, with an even faster time, solidifies himself the only driver to be in the 21-second range.
That might be it for our qualifying session. We're just over a minute remaining. Nope, there's one driver that hasn't set a lap time, and that is Ashley Lokiadis. Everyone else has put in their laps, and 12 people should advance out of this. Should be Justin Brester, the last of those drivers, I think. Might even be Tyler Chalk. Tyler Chalk up there in the top spot. So at the moment, the people that advance will be Chance Crum, Jonathan Schaefer, Garrett Andrews, Hunter Crum, Chase Randall, Dominic Carter, Barrett Volhemus, Zarek Bozanich, Roman Gephardt, Trey Osborne, Joel Rayborn, and Tyler Chalk. The rest will have to go through the heats.
Those heats are going to be a very brutal portion of this race, essentially, especially with how they are 15 minutes for 15 laps. But you can see their details for qualifying. Interesting, as you saw there, is that it was 20% track stay here, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on for the rest of the night. So, wonder how much rubber that this track will have by the end.
PitLogic putting up a few awards up for grabs as well. The Fast Time Award for the night. The winner will receive a $20 Visa gift card, and at the end of the season, the Hard Charger Award will be awarded, and someone will receive a $50 Visa gift card. Thank you to PitLogic, the most comprehensive chassis and shock setup application on the market, for supplying that, as Ashley Lokitis is getting in her laps, and at the end of qualifying, she will end up starting 6th in heat number 1. 21 cars per heat. Oh no, sorry, heat 2's been skipped. So just a 21 car sole heat here before we head into the feature race. Let's take a look at your starting grid then here at Iowa Speedway. And this is how they line up. Justin Brester and Ryan Shokuski on the front row. Ronnie Gardner and Tracy Lepasic alongside behind them. Austin Nye and Ashley Lokitis on row 3. And then Cody Williams, Matt Roberts, 7th and 8th. Top 10 rounded out by Tom Hazard and Colin Mitchell.
Second half of the field is going to be Cameron Baker in 11th, Ryan Shorthose in 12th place. Row 7 holds Colton Collins and Clayton Christensen. Row 8 holds Caden Posey, familiar name from the Dirt Series, in 15th. Reed Whitney starts off in 16th. Trey McGranahan starts off in the 17th place position with Leakin Smith to his outside in 18th. Richard Ergot starts off in 19th, and 20th will be Nolan Mitchell with Landry, I believe that is Denham, starting off in 21st.
KT's steering service and Sharp Advantage safety products bring you your heat details. Oh boy, not a good day for me, is it? And the details are this: a 15-lap race, top 4 scheduled to advance through to the feature. I dare say that may become potentially 8, with the exclusion of a second heat, so possibly the top 8 advancing through as a result of that, to make it a 20-car field. But a short, sharp dash here. 15 laps is not much, around a 22nd a lap, and don't believe any cautions either.
And just like the Dirt Sprint Series, it's going to the Dirt Series is going to be a sprint to the finish. No pun intended. Essentially, it's going to be a survival race. And, well, at least this time it's on asphalt, and it's a track with outside walls, unlike some tracks that they had visited throughout the dirt season. So pace car pulls off. I believe it will be 2 pace laps. It's been a while since I have been to Iowa, but we shall see regardless. I'm very interested to see how they'll play out.
What's the general rule in racing? If it's under a mile, it gives you 2 pace laps here, isn't it? I think that's the general rule. Yeah. That allows the field to actually form up before they get to the checkered flag, because well, that could be some issue, wouldn't it, if you're at a place like Martinsville and the field was coming to the green flag and the back half of the field still coming out of pit lane. So the drivers get a couple laps here to warm up their tyres. Don't believe they have the new tyre model on these sprint cars, so the cold tyres won't be quite as drastically cold as they are for some of the other cars on the surface, but still, you warm them up, see if you get some temp into them, get ready to come to the green flag here. Going to be very difficult for these drivers to wrangle that 850 horsepower in amongst a 20-car grid. Off the exit of the corners, they get so loose because they're so light as well.
But on the bright side, to an extent at least, they are fast. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be very interested, really, to see if these cars can utilize a slipstream here throughout these next 15 laps. But it depends on how this goes. So we'll see how the top 8 forms up here when the pace car pulls off.
On the pole position will be Justin Brester with Shokuski to his outside. Pace car will dive down at the turn number 4 and we'll go racing for the first time today here at Iowa Speedway. We look to the flag stand. The green flag flies, and we are racing at a great launch from Brester and Shilkuski. Behind them, though, they all fan out to 3 wide almost into turn number 1. Lepanzik emerges out front, but now they're 3 wide on the exit again. There's around the outside when Ashley Lukitas.
Right now, wreck in the back, but the field up front, for the most part, at least third place on back, is still battling it out between each other for the time being. A little bit of a mid-pack. They quickly scrambled to relatively double the single file, but for the time being, it's going to be Tracy Lapasek in the third place position, trying to fend off Hessert and Nye directly behind that number 99 machine.
Yeah, has it up on the high side, gets a great run out of the corner, and that's going to put Lapasek under some pressure down into turn number 1, trying to fend him off from the insiders. Behind, Lokitis went all the way up the racetrack and almost lost out to Austin Nye, that just managed to fend him off as Hezet manages to get around. As Lincoln Smith rejoins right in front of the field and causes a big shunt.
I think he was trying to get back going and then maybe lost a little bit of control, moved too far up the racetrack. I don't know, but it was way too early to move up the track regardless. But for the time being, it's still going to be your top 2 still relatively close together for the time being. Brester and Shikusi for the time being, or Shikuski, I should be saying, is that number 17 is still riding directly behind the 31 for the time being.
Oh, and Hezet's just been taken out as well by the lapped car, and the battle for third place will not go his way, and he won't be in the feature as a result of that. Big drama in the entry to turn number 2. That leaves Tracy Lapasek out there in third ahead of Austin Nye.
Yeah, unfortunately that time Lincoln Smith had just completely broken loose just out of nowhere. Maybe overcorrected, not entirely sure, but regardless, it's still going to be a battle for your top 8 positions. Still a little bit of a gap in between. That would be interesting to see if it will be able to be closed by the time the feature rolls around, if it's even possible. But I guess something that we'll just have to wait and see. Around 8th place, it's relatively calm because, well, Mark Roberts has absolutely no one directly behind him. He's got a lot of space, relatively, by the looks of it. Maybe about 5 seconds or so. Actually, no, 2.2 seconds in between himself and Colton Collins for 8th place.
Yeah, very big gap back there. Colton, very close battle for 9th place, but it's still very close for the scheduled to be the final transfer spots, the battle for 3rd and 4th, but could be the top 8 advancing with the lack of a second heat. Lapasek, Austin Nye up there at 3rd and 4th. Cody Williams behind them in 5th as Nye gets to the outside here, down the back straight. Lapasek breaks loose and spins. Oh, he saves it. But that car got real sideways down the back straight on the entry to 3, and he goes right back to 7th place. And Austin Nye will claim 3rd.
And right now, for the time being, it's still going to be relatively close. Everyone just sort of settled themselves out for the moment. And interestingly enough, into the outside wall is going to be the number 99 again. Lepasek into the outside wall off turn number 2, going to be falling into the clutches of Mark Roberts for the time being. But here comes right now for the next position. I'm double checking here just to make sure. The car directly behind Mark Roberts is actually going to be Reek Whitney, but that's not for position. The 12, or the 19 rather, is 1 lap down as there's a big wreck on the back straightaway. It's the 99 again, for sure this time, out of the transfer spot.
Side by side and wrecking for 4th place. Ashley Lukitas up into the outside fence, up and over he goes. Lands on his tyres and collected in a big way while Reed Whitney and Lukitas get sent to space. And that takes out 3 cars. Who was the other one involved? See if we can pull up a replay of this when we can. There you go, Gary. Take a look at this. Off the exit of 4. Lukitas and Cody Williams it was.
Oh, sent straight out the racetrack and into the open areas.
And Matt Roberts Whitney had almost nowhere to go, did he? With that one, extremely unfortunate. That leaves us with 3 to go and a very close battle for 5th on the racetrack. Matt Roberts has got Tom Hezet to his outside. And Cody Williams out there as well. In fact, Hezet's a few laps down. He drives around all of these guys. Cody Williams gets up into 5th ahead of Trey McCannahan. And these guys are really switching around for this 5th place spot. This is a great little scrap to the end here. But for the win, coming out of the final corner, it'll be Justin Brester ahead of Ryan Shulkuski, and they go straight through to the A main as they take out heat number 1. Austin Nye follows him across in 3rd. That 5th place battle will be won by Cody Williams ahead of Trey McCannahan.
A great job so far. It's going to be Mark Roberts and Colton Collins maybe getting in. We'll, of course, let you know in just a couple of moments, actually, as warm-up starts to go in. And yes, it was your top 8 from Heat 1. So, again, it's going to be Brester, Shalkuski, Nye, Gardner, Williams, and McGranahan, and Roberts being your final 20 drivers. So this is going to be quite interesting. Oh, did I not mention Collins? I apologize for that. I was looking through just to make sure, but yeah, Colton Collins just barely managed to hang in there, so good on him.
So they all line up at the back of the feature, 30th, 40th, 15th, and then back to 20th. So they've got their work cut out ahead of them. A 4-lap event, this feature, so going to be a fair bit longer than we'll see how it goes. Because if it's as chaotic for the drivers as it was in those heats, well, we might get a few cautions, and it is max time of 30 minutes.
And the thing is, we're going to have to wait a little bit to see how long the pace-offs are going to be, but just for a relative, really speed on how it is handled, it's pretty much going to be about 50 miles an hour for pace speed for the most part, and at that point it's really something to keep in mind. So if we go 50 miles an hour compared to 160 just about going into turns 1 and 2, well, or turn 1 rather, it's going to be, of course, a massive difference, and the time lost is going to be something that these drivers really should keep a close eye on. So if we get too many cautions, again, we may have to end on time, but again, we'll have to see.
3 minutes remaining in that warm-up session. Drivers had to wait after going straight through in qualifying, get their chance to get some more practice in out there on the racetrack, trying to figure out how to drive these cars, because it looks like a lot of them still haven't quite figured it out. A lot of people still struggling. They just look like a complete handful. 850 horsepower, and they haven't got all their body parts on them, so they're very light. Out of these corners, just an absolute mess to drive. Some of the bigger tracks, I wonder if they'd be flat out, but completely sideways through the corner.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually. I was wondering and double checking to see what was on the schedule for this month, and unfortunately the Texas Legend Oval is not one of them, but just Texas in general would be absolutely incredible. Imagine seeing 20 cars going.
It's separating the top 5 on this warm-up, so it looks like it could be a very close feature race coming up.
It's going to be an incredibly close feature race, especially due to the fact that, well, we've seen the lap times between these drivers. Chance Crum beating out Jonathan Schaefer by just under a tenth of a second, maybe about 0.02 seconds, give or take a few, and some change essentially, but the only driver really to be in the 21 second range overall so far, at least in terms of official timing. So Chance Crum definitely showing that, well, he was pretty good in dirt, relatively top 10, top 5 finishes, but he's showing his absolute pace right here at Iowa to start.
Chance and Hunter, they've got to be related, right?
Oh, more than likely. I'm not sure if they, personally not sure if they are brothers or father and son. I would assume brothers though, but either way, sibling rivalry would be quite interesting. I mean, they are starting on row 1 and row 2, so we'll see how that plays out.
They're both fast. I can tell you both that. I can tell you that much. They are both very quick. We saw that in the 360 series that we've just wrapped up, Gary.
Yeah, 360 series was absolutely just incredible to see how that played out. And just double checking the schedule, races to look forward to would be Lucas Oil, Bristol, and Richmond. So, unfortunately, as the warm-up session ends, unfortunately not Texas, but hey, there's always next month.
Oh no, Bristol! Can you imagine these things around there? I can't wait for that. That's going to be, well, that's going to be chaos. Actually, I should just really say. I can't wait for that. So we're grilling up, ready for the feature, and this is how they line up: Chance Crum on the pole, Jonathan Schaefer behind him, Garrett Andrews and Hunter Crum on row 2, Chase Randall, Dominic Carter 5th and 6th, Barrett Polhemus and Zachary Bosnich 7th and 8th, Roman Gephardt and Troy Osborne your top 10.
Your second half of the field going to be in 11th place is Joel Rayborn, and then it's Tyler Chalk in 12th place, and then it's your top 8 from the heat race number 1 being Justin Brester, Ryan Shilkuski in 13th and 14th, 15th is Austin Nye, 16th Ronnie Gardner, 17th Cody Williams, 18th is Trey McGanahan, 19th Matt Roberts, and 20th Colton Collins.
And your heat details brought to, your feature details brought to you by Pivotal Propane. 40 laps, yellow flags are on, so we're gonna have them backing up under caution, and the sun is really setting over there in turns 3 and 4. The track bathed in orange light down on the inside of the racetrack, and the track temperature has come down, and there's a wreck on this pace lap. Where is it? I heard it.
Oh, it's Ryan Shilkuski, the 17, unfortunately. Not sure who was weaving a bit too hard, so I think at that point, the two drivers may calm it down after seeing that wreck there. Swarming up the tires a bit too much was the 21.
Cool little sunlight I had over 3 and 4. Oh, it was looking good down there. Cloud covers come over, the sun gets blocked, and it gets darker over the racetrack as we come to the green flag in the feature. Thanks to Pivotal Propane and Competition Suspension Incorporated, we go green. And Chance Crum jumps out to the lead. Jonathan Schaefer will slot into second. Shilkuski's down in pit lane, unfortunately, after that crash on the pace lap. And there's a caution already for an incident further back in the field even.
Oh, 63, Joel Rayborn. Not entirely sure what happened just yet, but we'll see here on the replay. And this is going to be on the restart. It's going to be heading into turns 1 and 2. Here on the restart again, the 63 of Joel Rayborn. Starts to get going a little bit slow. Can't move down to the inside. Of course, could move up to the outside, but unfortunately just looks to lose all the grip and then just loses grip himself and flipping over the pit wall twice. There's somebody there as well, unfortunately, but restarts have immediately been changed to single file by race control after that, and that was a 21 of Roman Gephardt, who went just flying outside into the pit road and then back out of the pit road.
The single file restart should make it a bit easier for them to get to turn 1 at least, but then they're going to start going side by side again. And I would imagine it'd be very easy to spin up your tyres with these things too, with that horsepower. So, even coming to the restart, it's going to be tough for them to actually put that power down smoothly, not spin the tyres up and break loose. At least with a single file restart, they won't get into the car next to them.
I think one thing that can be done here by Chance Crumb is just to stay on the 1 lap to go up to the outside. You see the track temp as well. Just a quick notice as well that is now down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So it definitely is going to be getting cooler here at Iowa. But Chance Crumb, what he can do with these single file restarts now, he can use this to his advantage. He can line up on the outside lane right next to the outside wall. And that way, of course, with the rule being you are not allowed to pass on the outside lane, well, Chance Crumb can use the outside wall to his advantage. You can't move the wall, and just like that, you already have an advantage as the lead car.
A few more laps still to come under the pace car. Remember, the lights will go out on the pace car when we get the 1 to go signal from Barney the Flagman, as Mike Joy dubbed him in the Fox Sports booth for the NASCAR Promotional Series, which coming to its conclusion this weekend, unfortunately. But here on the Global Sim Racing channel, they'll be iRacing every day, 13 broadcasts between Monday and Friday this week, and I imagine probably 6 or 7 on Saturday and Sunday as well. So hectic schedule for us here on GSRC, but plenty of action coming to you across our Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure you like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter if you want to keep up to date. And subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We just passed 10k, which went by very quickly, I will admit. We were looking at it going, we're almost at 10k, and then suddenly we were at 10k and past it in the middle of a big broadcast.
It's absolutely incredible for the support. And, well, Mike Joy may have dubbed the flagman Barney, but NASCAR Chasm dubbed the flagman Flappy McLabrum Tear. And, well, think of that what you will, but, I mean, you have to think, having that strong of an arm to very aggressively wave a flag takes a lot of muscle buildup. So hopefully he does not tear an actual labrum here, because we kind of need that flag to be waved.
Indeed we do. Lights should go out on the pace car this time by. Interesting note, the lap times under caution are 1 minute 5, so you would need probably 3/4 of the race to be under caution to utilise the 30-minute time limit we go ahead of us. So we should get all 40 laps in. It'll be lap 6, well, it'll be lap 7 when we come back to the green flag here. No pit stops in this one, I don't expect. You don't need to fuel the car, and don't think the tyres will wear
all that much. Yeah, they'll be fine for the most part. They'll definitely make 40 laps though, that's for sure. I'm wondering at this point, as the anticipation rises, I'm wondering when Chance Crumb will decide to move up to the outside wall. It looks like he actually decides to do that right now. Does he stay up top? This could help him greatly. He's going to leave an opening though, unfortunately.
It will, but he should be able to get on that throttle early enough that Jonathan Schaefer can't get by, and pace car is going to get out of the way, and we'll try to go green once again here at Iowa Speedway. Chance Crumb in control of the field. He smoothly applies that throttle, and we go racing once again. Schaefer goes with him. A bit of a gap forms back to Hunter Crumb and Dominic Carter in 3rd and 4th. And we make it further than we did at the start. Out of turn number 2, they're all single file still. And now they will close up as we head through 3 and 4. Jonathan Schaefer going right with Crumb as the caution comes out.
Matt Roberts, unfortunately, on the back straightaway. Not entirely sure what happened with him, but he just went way up the racetrack. We'll see here. Taking a look at Matt Roberts, gets left side tires on the apron a little bit, and then suddenly just goes straight to the right. Not entirely sure what happened, if it was maybe a hardware issue, but he was able to get back going afterwards, so not entirely sure what happened to Matt Roberts though. Look at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, watching the hands, and not sure really. Maybe he just lost grip. Again, thinking hardware, but he is able to get back going. He's still driving as well, just fine, so unless he's able to get everything back in order, but not entirely sure on what happened. regardless, Matt Roberts going into pit road right now. Suspension damage, and definitely for sure cannot steer straight, unfortunately. So the only thing I can think of really is that hardware issue, Ryan.
Yeah, it seems like the most likely explanation for that one. We're going to hit a quarter race distance here under the caution period. Drivers should actually get themselves accustomed off this third restart to a car you'd expect. We might get a little bit of a green flag run in to at least about lap 20, you'd hope. 10 minutes up on the clock, 20 minutes remain. You know, the math adds up that takes us to time certain, doesn't it, Gary?
Yeah,
10
more than
minutes are
likely.
up. We're a quarter of the way through.
Correct, yeah. Lap times usually again are just over about 20 seconds here, 22 seconds, give or take some change, but with lap times here being a minute and 5 seconds relatively, that's basically, I'm just double checking myself here, about 3 laps basically that could have happened under green. So 1 caution lap is equal to 3 green flag laps. And the more the time goes by under caution, unfortunately, the less time there is to complete the race. So at this point, it's going to be close on time, but we'll see how this goes.
A couple cars have gone laps down as a result. Ryan Shulkuski, of course, who didn't take the start after wrecking on the warm-up lap, and Roman Gephardt is 2 laps down, but still out there on the racetrack. Looks like Shulkuski is going to make his way back out onto the track as well at the moment, which is good, so he'll get back out there.
In the meantime, I'm trying to do a bit of math in my head as the lights remain on. I'm pretty sure the drivers here are definitely not hoping to see these lights on just lap after lap. It should more than likely be 2 laps to go this time by, but well, in the meantime, it's just a little bit of waiting game here. So the sun continues to set here at Iowa. It's a very pretty picture from some camera angles as well, especially from here. It's absolutely beautiful. But in the meantime, though, it's just continuing to tick down.
Fun fact, Rusty Wallace designed this place. Did you know that, Gary?
I actually did not. That's really cool. I wonder if they actually kind of capitalized on this and used the Rusty Walsh racing experience over here as well, because that would be the ultimate capitalization. So Iowa doing a great job. I think some things as well is that apparently modeled after Richmond as well, and that's, well, if that wasn't evident enough, then I don't know what it could be. But there's Richmond start-finish line, interestingly enough, I believe is a little bit a shorter ways off of turn 4. Yeah, a lot shorter ways off turn 4 compared to Iowa Speedway here as the lights go out on the pace car.
Of course, we see Richmond on the calendar for all 3 of NASCAR's National Series. We don't see this for all 3. We see the trucks come to Iowa.
And the Xfinity cars.
And the Xfinity, but not Cup, unfortunately. Another fun fact is there are birds in the background of my microphone that I've been informed of. So that's fun.
That just shows that Iowa's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Alright, let's come back to the green flag then. Lap 13 when we come across the stripe of 40. Chance Crum will look to get that throttle down nice and smoothly again. As the green flag waves, we go racing for the 3rd time today. And a good restart from Hunter Crum back in 3rd place. He stayed glued to the back of the bumper, if you can call it that, of Jonathan Schaefer.
It'll be more of the back gearbox, I think, appropriately enough. But for the time being, so far, Chance Crum doing a great job getting out in front, away from Jonathan Schaefer, while Schaefer could have a little bit of pull, I think, from slipstream, if that is a little bit of an effect here in these sprint cars. But for the time being, though, Chance Crum just running away, just like he did with qualifying.
Side by side for 7th place, Chase Randall trying to fend off Zachary Bozanich, who dives down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Can't quite keep the momentum up and get by him. Has to slot back in behind in front of them, side by side. Garrett Andrews Squeezes up in front of Barrett Volhemus. Almost contact. Right behind Dominic Carter there. That was very tight indeed. Carter's going to have to cover off the inside now because Andrews looks like he's got a bit of a pace in that car.
I'm pretty sure Bosnick did not want that to happen in front of him, but just hanging on. It's going to be a 79 up on the top side and a little bit in the background, but Garrett Andrews as well, just close taking the door off, but he's going to be looking to the inside of Dominic Carter this time around for position at number 4, believe it or not. But right now, so far, your top 3 relatively single file spread out for now, but Carter is going to be under fire from Andrews here in a couple laps time as, Polhemus just manages to hang on to it, really pushing the car off turn 4.
Yeah, that's one of those big snaps of oversteer off the exit that the 850 horsepower produces. This time up into the fence and going to be collected as he goes up and over into the cash fence. He goes a wild tumble for Polhemus, but it continues as more cars get involved. And Polhemus is still going, and finally he comes to a rest on his roll bar, not the roof.
Joel Rayborn got the worst of that because he is stuck in the catch fence, but from here, once Polhemus kind of flipped down here, it was on from there. Everyone was braking to react in time, and there's the 63 stuck in the catch fence. Not going to be getting out anytime soon, I don't believe, but well, also the onboard camera survived this one here, as it's going to be all the way from off turn at number 2. Right, it's going to be coming up on this lap here for Rayborn. And that's actually going to be a really good camera angle to see what had happened here. More than likely, it was either other contact or just drivers really braking in reaction, wrecking up ahead, and everyone's just going down low to avoid. Oh, it's wrong place, wrong time for the 63.
Oh boy, wild tumble too for Polhemus, wasn't it? Almost got up above the catch fence.
I don't think it was going to end, to be quite honest, for him. I don't think he thought it was going to end either, but luckily it did, just not the way that he wanted, which was to be on his wheels.
So that puts us under the caution once again.
And for the time being, well, we did speak of Richmond earlier on, and this the schedule, I should say, does have Richmond again. And I believe, just going to double check here, it should be just after Bristol, and it is. So the 4th Wednesday of this month is when these cars will go to Richmond.
5 race calendar, of course, for this series.
And really, these only, I believe, 2 different track types in a sense, with the D-shaped oval being here of Iowa and Richmond, and that's going to be the short track schedules of the Lucas Oil Raceway, as well as, I guess, Bristol in a sense is a little bit similar to Lucas Oil.
Bristol is a whole other beast.
That is
the
true.
last great Colosseum, that is. And very big banking in the corners. Was it about 20 degrees, I think? Maybe even more than that, in fact. I need to fact check that. I haven't been there for a while. But the speeds are really high too because of that banking. You're able to carry a lot of momentum through the corners. But I think these cars are going to really struggle there, actually.
Yeah, if the banking changes in the top side down to the low side, it's going to be top side preferred most likely, as it is here on the iRacing surface. But maybe diamonding the corner as well could prove a little bit of change, really. Essentially, we'll see how it plays out because Lucas Oil Raceway is pretty flat. So the only flat track as well on the schedule, relatively little to no banking there over for next week's race here in the CSI series. And that's going to be next week, so it's going to be quite interesting. Of course, Iowa Speedway, the only major professional sports venue here as well, unlike Bristol, where it can host a race and a football game at not exactly the same time, but it's possible to do both.
The interesting fact here, Iowa mustn't be that big in their sports, can they? Because this is the only major professional sports venue in Iowa. That really surprises me.
No, you're right. Yeah, having Joe Peak mentioning everything else, more than likely being college professional related, so that does make sense. But quite an interest, really. But imagine if the Cup Series, we can only dream, of course. But imagine if the Cup Series did go to Iowa Speedway. That would draw more than likely a few people out of the woodwork to come back and check it out.
Certainly, would you talk about the college level there? And that's something about America that really interests, I think, a lot of the world, is how big collegiate sport is. Because it's something that doesn't really transfer to the rest of the world, Gary, and maybe something that Americans don't particularly realize as much, but from an outsider's perspective, it's very interesting to see, and it's actually quite cool to see the exposure that college sports gets, and it's almost pretty much professional, isn't it? And a lot of money goes through it. But Iowa, though, stands as the only major professional thing. What they need is college level motorsports.
Well, what we need right now and what these drivers need is going to be a green flag run here, because they got 10 minutes left here on time, and they have just under halfway. So we'll see how this goes as the green flag flies. Chance Crum holds up the field a little bit. Someone's stuck on the inside. That's the number 10, unfortunately.
We go back to the green flag then with a big gap between second and third place. Ronnie Gardner down low, going to lose out of the exit of turn number 2 to Trey McGanahan and Austin Nye. Leaders will come back around to the start-finish stripe. Lap 24 of 40. Crum leads Schaefer by 0.2 of a second. Down into 1 and 2. Hunter Crum half a second back from them. He's got Dominic Carter for company behind him. Oh, that's Chase Randall. He had 2 tyres up and riding the fence. Manages to bounce back down onto all 4 tyres and keep going, but that was very close to an incident for Randall.
There's a loose off turn 4 as well, but he just managed to hang on to it. That's similar to Richmond as well, the tribal front straightaway, essentially. The front straightaway here, curved and running the top side. Not entirely fun, and you're prone to being pretty loose off the corner exit as well as down the entire straightaway, as I think Schaefer kind of managed to hang on to it just a little bit, but no challenge yet for first place. As side by side for about 9th place, it's Chase Randall and Trey McGranahan, as well as Austin Nye and Justin Brester.
Trey McGranahan down on the inside, Randall on the top, trying to fend him off. Behind is Ronnie Gardner, looking for a way to capitalize on that. They're still stuck side by side here. Across the main stripe they go. Randall doing a good job up on the top side. That's what I talked about in practice, wasn't it? That this racetrack allows side-by-side racing like this. A lot of lines able to carry speed, but they are slowing each other up by doing this. Gardner's being held up, and now Pazanich is going to be held up as well. As finally, McCanahan slots in line behind Randall, so unable to complete that move.
Right now, as the front 2 pull away, no challenge yet for the lead. The entire back portion of the field, about 7th through relatively about 12th, are all in just a little bit of a group. You can kind of throw a blanket onto them, but it's up to not actually do that, as Trey McGranahan looks up top to the top side, really loose, still trying to hang on to it up to the start-finish line, finally gets control of it, and we can finally see how much these drivers are struggling, as Gardner's on the inside trying to defend in that number 93 machine, trying to hang on to it for the time being. Technically the preferred lane on the inside, but not in these cars.
$11 laps to go then, as we hit lap 30 here at Iowa. Battle for 5th place as well. And there's a crash back there. Caution's out.
Justin Brester and 3 other drivers just barely making it through. Matt Roberts coming to a screeching halt, quite literally. But Brester, unfortunately, getting the worst of that. And at this point, we'll have to see where it stands on time and where it stands on laps. We're going to be relatively close, but replay up on your screen right now for the time being. Justin Brester goes into the corner. Oh, just way too close for comfort. And Brester goes absolutely flipping. Just gets out of the way as well. Great track awareness and great job for Justin Brester to accelerate out of the way once he got back control.
Certainly reward respects us here at the back roll cage.
Well, now comes the interesting part of this portion of the event. In about 15 seconds time, we're going to have 5 minutes remaining, and we're at 9 laps to go at the moment. So, if this isn't close, then I don't know what is.
I think we might get there. When we come back green, we'll be doing 20-second lap times again, so we should just about get there. But going to be very tight indeed for these drivers. And for Chance Crum, he's led all the way so far. He's just got a few more laps to hold on.
Maybe even a few more minutes. We'll see. 20-minute lap times. This is going to be, of course, again close, and these pace laps are about 3 minutes, and let's say 5, 10, 15, 20. So about 3 minutes 20 seconds, just about relatively. So we're going to be close, but regardless, it should be Chance Crum out front. He's been very dominant and coming from the Dirt Series as well, along with Hunter Crum. I believe Dominic Carter made a couple appearances as well. Not entirely sure, to be quite honest, but relatively entirely new field essentially here for the paved sprint cars. Now for the time being, all eyes are on the time and the laps remaining. 4 minutes to go, 8 laps to go. I think we'll be able to get this in time, albeit very, very close, but we might be able to get this.
I think you're right. We're going to just about get there. So, Chance Crum must be feeling a little bit nervous out at the front because he's been so strong throughout this, but we always see in motor racing and sim racing, you get a late race caution and a flick just gets swished up at the front, and the order always seems to tumble somehow, as we have another lap still to come on the pace car here.
I don't know if I heard you differently or not, but I think I just heard you say a flick gets switched. I think you mean a switch gets flicked at the front, but...
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's okay. You'll get English one day at some point. Today just might be one of those days, but regardless though, sun is setting, lights are relatively on. You can kind of see them a little bit more on the track surface at some areas of the track, but still closing in for the time being. And well, to get 5 laps in, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be 1 to green, 5 laps, 20 seconds or so per lap, 22 seconds per lap I should say, but go with 20 just to make it easier. It's going to be about a minute and a half, I believe. Can't do math off the top of my head, but roughly about 120 seconds, maybe 130 seconds essentially. So just about 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes to go at the start finish line just about. Lights are going to be off. And this is going to be the closest race I've ever seen just on time alone.
One to go then. The clock winds down, the laps wind down, and Chance Crum's going to have to wind it up and get the best launch of his night so far. So we roll down this back straight away behind the racing.com Ford Mustang pace car. It will dive down at a turn of 4, and we will come with the green flag with 5 to go in Iowa Speedway for round 1 of the Competition Suspension Paved Sprint Car Series, powered by Pivotal Propane. As a tongue twister, if ever I've heard one. Here we go, green flag back out, and Chance Crum gets away well from Johnny Schaefer. Leads him across the line by about 6 car lengths. Down into 1 and 2 we dive.
Garrett Andrews, I believe, spun the tires off turn 4, but he'll be able to just hang on to it for the time being. Chance Crum, so far, it's a minute left, so it's going to be at least maybe 3 laps. We'll see how this plays out, second or so. But in the meantime, though, I'm pretty sure Jonathan Schaefer is just hoping that Chance Crum makes a mistake here off turn number 2 or off turn number 4, just anytime soon, really, for that number 9 to gain an advantage.
He's just got enough of the gap at the moment, doesn't he? Schaefer's been there, but not quite close enough. All race long, and he's not finding enough at the moment to reel in that last couple of car lengths he needs to make a dive at Chance Crumb. Down the back straight, just a couple laps remaining for these drivers. 3 to go on the tower. In fact, we might just about get there too in terms of laps.
Probably not. We'll see what it shows this time. It's 3-2. Time's about to expire. We might actually be able to make it.
Don't forget that elapsed time, Gary, includes the 2-minute gridding session too, so add a couple of minutes onto that.
Looks like we're going to the laps. Oh, Schaefer went wide. Oh, I think that's going to be it.
Pushing too hard, trying to find out that last little bit. Gets up into the fence, and that puts Chance Crumb in a very good spot now, as it is the final lap of the race. And Chance Crumb will come through 3 and 4, and he needs to get on that throttle smoothly, and he will win here at Iowa Speedway for round 1 of the season. And Jonathan Schaefer will have to settle for second. We'll go to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with your results here from Iowa. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway here on the Global Sim Racing channel for our coverage of the Competition Suspension Paved Sprint Series powered by Pivotal Propane. Chance Crumb went from whites to flag here at Iowa to take out the feature race ahead of Jonathan Schaefer and Hunter Crumb in third. Dominic Carter and Chase Randall were your top 5. Garrett Andrews and Trey Osborne at 6th and 7th. Austin Nye and Zachary Bazanich were 8th and 9th. Ahead of Ronnie Gardner in 10th.
Finishing in 11th with the second half of the field, it's going to be Troy McGanahan. Top place goes to Colton Collins. Cody Williams finishes 13th. Matt Roberts 14th. Roman Gephardt in 15th. 16th going to be Justin Brester. 17th is going to be Barrett Palhemus. Ryan Shilkowski finishes in 18th. 19th is Joel Rayborn. And 20th will be Tyler Chalk.
Let's have a chat then to Chance Crumb, our race winner. It was an easy, you had quite a few cautions to fend off, but in the end, you managed to lead every lap out there.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Unfortunately, we had quite a few cautions there, but got a lot of pressure from behind, so had to be sure to hit my marks and able to survive till the end there.
Looking at the cars out there, they seem like completely wild beasts to try and wrangle around the racetrack. Cars we don't see that often in the racing service. Chance, how much experience you got in these things?
Not much. Ran them a couple times, but just practiced a little bit yesterday and the day before, trying to get these things figured out, and still learning. They're definitely wild, and trying to tame them in a little bit.
And in terms of the cautions for that one, obviously tough car to drive, cautions to be expected. What goes through your mind trying to get the right restart each and every time? How tricky is it to launch without spinning those tires?
Yeah, it's definitely really tricky. These things really like to spin the tires pretty easy, so you have to be real careful there. And then each restart, I was getting a little bit worried. Jonathan right behind me, he was really fast, and especially on the short runs, he was really pressuring me. So each yellow, I kind of got a little bit worried, but luckily to have everything play out in our favor and bring home the win.
I have a question. Is Hunter related to you?
Yes, that is my younger brother. He's actually in the room next to me right now. So cool to see him finish third and get a 1-3 there.
There's been a debate up here in the comments box, but glad we can finally put that one to bed. Before we let you go, who are the people who get it done for you and the sponsors, if any, you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a big thank you to Capstone Plastering, Airvan Moving, CSI Shocks, PitLogic, Joe's Racing Products, and I want to give a shout out to Bob and Lori Scott. Ran their old sprint car paint scheme here tonight, so that's pretty cool.
Certainly is. Thank you for joining us. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
There's your race winner, Chance Crumb, then, who took out a very comfortable victory in the end, and that'll wrap us up for this evening with no one else coming to have a chat with us. So thank you for you all for tuning in. Thank you to CSI Shocks for their continued sponsorship and organisation of this series. Thank you to Pivotal Propane for jumping on board as title sponsor, as well as PitLogic, Sharp Advantage Safety Products, and Katie's Steering Service for their sponsorship of the series too. Of course, none of this would be possible without the companies who provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, as well as Gina Londe, who provides our music. You can see the screen for how to get a hold of all of them. Thanks to the team with me today, Gary Weaver and Joe Peak. You can find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, at globalsimracingchannel.com. Plus, our social media is always active with Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube if you enjoyed the broadcast. Chuck us a like on the video too. We've got plenty of other races coming up on the Global Sim Racing Channel. You can see them on your screen now. Check them out if you want to see what's coming up. From all of us here on the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.